You know, I think it's abundantly clear to all of us what the Republican Party's tactic is to try to win back the White House in 2024 and win back the Senate and hold on to the House and win state and local elections around the country in different states. And, you know, that tactic is not putting forward good policy that will help people and change their lives for the better. It's not sitting down with people at their kitchen tables and trying to understand them and convince them of their worldview. It's none of that. It's just simply trying to scare people. Just trying to scare people into voting for them. This has been the Republican Party's tactic for decades, certainly as long as I've been alive. And they're continuing to recycle the same old garbage that we've heard before. In 2024, in 2020, in 2016, and elections before that, Republicans always say that if the Democrats win, there's going to be crime, the border's going to be open, there will be mayhem in cities around the country, it'll be utter chaos. And of course, when a Democrat wins, that never comes to fruition because it's utter insanity. And they're using this lie to try to scare people to vote for them at the ballot box. But it's just not true. And they recycle it every single time, and people still fall for the same garbage. And I think that the main Republican point that they're trying to do right now and scare people with is crime. They're trying to say that crime has spiked under Joe Biden, murders are so high, and that there's lawlessness throughout the country because of Joe Biden's weak on crime policy. You've heard it all before. It's all garbage. It's all recycled. So it's always really nice when a Democrat brings the actual facts right to the Republicans, to their faces. Not their made-up facts or alternative facts, as Kellyanne Conway would put it, but like real facts based on data. And then, of course, they have no response. But that is exactly what happened on Fox News today when Democratic surrogate and strategist Kevin Whaling brought the facts to the Republicans live on Fox News. It's certainly something that the usual viewers of Fox News don't normally get when they're listening to Sean Hannity or whatever. But he talked about this. He was asked a question about crime, and his response is fantastic. So I have that clip for you guys today. And then later in the video, we're going to talk about how Republicans continue to perpetuate this lie, talking about a very specific member of Congress that I'm sure you're all familiar with on the Republican side. But let's take a look at that clip right now.
Certainly, it's good advice to Democrats. Listen, the president had all major police chiefs to the White House just last month. Violent crime is across the board down in most major cities, and that's something we need to talk about, certainly, as Democrats. The highest jump in the homicide rate, the murder rate in this country annually happened in the last year of the Trump administration. It didn't happen in any of the Biden years over these last 3 years. So, again, the president is running on his record. Donald Trump is a different situation than 2016, has a record he's got to defend as well.
I consider illegal fentanyl brought in by drug cartels.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Did you see how all of those Republican hosts at the end there tried to jump on him at once? They're all just like yapping in his ear because they just hate. They hate when facts are actually on the Fox News network. They love to push their talking points, their narrative, the MAGA garbage. But the fact of the matter is, he's absolutely right. You know, crime across the board in the United States, violent crime especially, has dropped dramatically under the Biden presidency. You can see this headline from the New York Times right now on your screen talking about just that, saying after rise in murders during the pandemic, aka the Trump administration, there's been a sharp decline in 2023, and the rates of these different violent crimes are still expected to go down even further under the Biden administration. This is not a Republican leader. Republicans are having no influence on this policy, no influence on this decline. It is going down right now under Joe Biden and the Democrats. And the really sad thing about this all, in my view, is that Republicans know that. Right? This data is coming from the FBI. It's coming from our intelligence community, our crime enforcement communities in the United States, the highest agencies that track all of these things around the country. They know that crime is falling, and they continue to lie about it. They continue to say that somehow crime is up against Joe Biden, even though all of us know that that is not the case. It is truly dirty politics. I don't know how anybody kind of looks at these tactics and thinks that that's okay and that's what they want in either a president or a legislator or a member of Congress or a senator. But surprisingly, there are just still so many of these MAGA Republicans who are not only still in office, but running for re-election. and in certain parts of the country, likely going to win in these deep red states and whatnot. But as I mentioned earlier, this scaring of people is not just happening in the Republican media from the usual figures on Fox News. It is happening from even members of Congress. And this congresswoman, who we're going to be talking about, is certainly somebody that you know about, and someone who is so loyal to Donald Trump that will just do his bidding no matter what. She's a flip-flopper, and that's what it is. That's the truth. And that Republican congresswoman is Nancy Mace, Republican from South Carolina. She put out this video on Twitter, or X the other day, whatever we're calling it these days. And it's this, minute-long video of her in an interview. And the caption, and I won't show you the video because it's really nothing to see. You don't got to see it. The caption is, "Since Joe Biden took office, crime has skyrocketed across our country." Now, as we just discussed, that is completely false. Nancy Mace knows that. The Republicans know that. And she got hit with a brutal fact check on this post. As you can see here on your screen, the community notes feature was utilized on Twitter. And in the context added, it says, "New FBI data confirms previous indications that crime in the U.S. declined significantly in 2023, continuing a post-pandemic trend and belying widespread perceptions that crime is rising. The U.S. crime rate is still dropping, FBI data shows." Like, listen, we all know that, Twitter or X is full of all these right-wing trolls. So when you're getting fact-checked on that platform, you're lying, and it's pretty egregious, and it's pretty bad, and she's getting called out in a big way on that tweet. And, even I had to chime in and say something to Nancy Mace, because it is just truly so disgraceful what these Republicans are doing. I'll put up my tweet on the screen saying FBI data says crime has plummeted under Joe Biden. Nancy Mace is a liar. And I don't suppose anybody disagrees with that, because as we know, she is. She pushed election denialism. She's now pushing this lie about Joe Biden. It really is just disgraceful, I think, is the best way to describe it. And isn't the beautiful irony here the fact that Donald Trump, the Republican candidate for president in 2024, is facing 91 felony charges? 91? He's out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions with 4 different indictments. This guy could be spending the rest of his life in prison. And the Republican Party is trying to frame themselves as the pro-law and order party. Your candidate is going to jail. If he is convicted on all these different crimes, their candidate might be sitting in jail for the rest of his life, and they want to try to tell us that they're harsh on crime and that Joe Biden is soft on it, even though the data completely contradicts that talking point. Like, give me a break. And might I add, all of these Republicans defend Donald Trump for allegedly breaking these laws. They're all in his corner. They have no problem with it. Even if he did it, they have no problem with it. He's already been found liable for fraud and sexual abuse, and that is apparently not enough for them to say, hey, maybe this guy shouldn't be the next president of the United States. They're still standing by him with all these felony charges, though. Overwhelming evidence, 4 different indictments. They don't care. So, this is something to definitely be mindful of as we get closer to the 2024 presidential election. You're going to see all these big scary ads from Republican PACs, Republican candidates, but don't fall for it. I know all of you out there are incredibly smart. You're not going to buy into this Republican right-wing garbage. But there are Americans out there who unfortunately do fall for it. So it's something to talk about with your friends and family, and make sure we're all on the same page here that, surprise, surprise, Republicans and the MAGA Republicans in particular are a bunch of liars. So that's going to wrap it up for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Of course, like the video and share the video with anybody you think needs to see it. And as I always say at the end of these videos, if we keep the faith, keep persevering, and keep working hard, we can beat and will beat Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans in 2024.